What's up, War Report family? It's your boy C Dub. Auburn is still hot on the recruiting trail, picking up a latest commitment that we'll discuss in today's show. Also, we'll talk about some freshmen, wide receivers, and players already looking impressive early in fall camp. All that and more in today's edition of the Weekend Tailgate.
This is the Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by Golden's Cast Iron. C-Dub, Ike Joe, Be Will, Mike G. You are now listening to
Greetings, everyone. Happy Sunday. This show is brought to you by our sponsor, Golden's Cast Iron. One of the ways you can help support the War Report is by supporting our sponsors. So head over to goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use the code Get Your Weight Up to get 15% off of weights, or code TWR to get $65 off of a fire pit or a Kamado grill. All of their products are amazing. They are an amazing sponsor, so please head that way and show them some love. Another way that you can show us some love, guys, this is kind of an affordable way. Just share this video, guys. Just hit that like button and subscribe if you are new to the channel. Mike G is going to tell you how you can continue to support us. One of the ways is by getting a green name or gifting a green name.
Green name gang, you know what it is. $5.99 a month. Look, recruiting is on fire right now. We're going to talk about it today. But we also a lot of great things coming. Fall camp has started. We had press conference yesterday. I'm going to be at some open practices this week. Help keep the work that we're doing here at the War Report going by hitting that join button. $5.99 micro sponsorships. You guys know the deal here. Also, you can give the gift of the War Report by hitting that gifted membership button. We appreciate you guys for doing that. Let's see if we can get 50 going on this one, guys. 50 gifted memberships. Light work there. Also want to thank show sponsor Vintage 2298 Restaurant and Butcher Shop. Go check them out. The address is in the name, 2298 East University Drive in Auburn, Alabama. If you're looking for a great date night with your ladies, fellas, Vintage has you covered. It's also graduation season, so they've got a lot of people over there hosting graduation dinners, doing some great things over there as well, too. Also want to thank title sponsor Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/rapport. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamado grills. Now, these are lifetime products that they're making over here. We appreciate them for sponsoring the War Report. Also, last but certainly not least, I want to thank show sponsor Joy Mode. Let's call out the obvious here, guys. Everyone wants to head into the bedroom with confidence, feeling like the best version of themselves. But the problem is sometimes our thoughts get in the way of our performance, or maybe we feel like we're just not reaching our full potential. What are your options? Pick up a sketchy gas station pill or get a prescribed drug with a long list of side effects. Here's where our friends at Joy Mode come in. Imagine a supplement you can take like your favorite greens pack that gives you that extra dose of confidence and saves you the embarrassment and hassle of a traditional erection pill. Joy Mode's sexual performance booster is an all-natural science-based backed solution to increase blood flow, firmness, stamina, and performance. They also recommend this for like athletic performance. I ain't gonna lie, guys. I took a packet before the gym last week. So it was interesting.
I was about to say interesting. All right.
Yeah.
That's an interesting word to use.
I went to the gym at 6 p.m., but it went to midnight real quick. Look, stir it in 6 to 8 ounces of water.
Wow.
5 minutes before sexual activity. Watch the magic unfold.
Wow.
Not only is this let me get
that's more than I ever wanted to hear from you ever in life, ever.
Not only is this the only supplement you'll need in the bedroom, but it also supports your blood vessels.
Mike is that perv walking around the gym.
yeah. You saw the dude from the Olympics. You saw the what was the pole vaulter from the Olympics? that's going
Oh,
viral.
Walter. Yes, okay, appropriate. Guys, let me get through this.
Anyway.
So, joybo.com, use 20% off plus free shipping with code Rapport. We're code Rapport everywhere, man. And if Joy Mode is a little bit too potent for you, the Rogue Shop has something to counter that. RogueShop.com. Use code Rapport to get 15% off at Rogue Shop. Let them know that the word Rapport is into.
Mike, that is some nasty work.
Absolute iniquitous work there. Vociferous activity.
Virginia Double Dribble says, LOL, worst read ever, Mike G.
Listen, man, I just read the words. It's on the paper, guys.
TK said, look your girl.
Yep.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Let's get to it. Auburn is still reaping the rewards of Big Cat Weekend. Auburn just picked up a big-time commitment from five-star edge Jared Smith, who actually committed not too far from us, Ike. I saw where he was committed, and I was like, okay, he had a whole situation going on, pulled up in a slingshot and all that good stuff. Ended up committing with Auburn. Auburn is now in 2 of the 3 major recruiting sites top 5. I think they're right outside the top 5 with On 3. But rival,
can we just admit On 3 is whack?
Them.
They're whack, dude. Come on, man. They consistently have our recruits ranked lower than everybody else. Okay, I'm sorry, Caesar.
Yeah, I get it. But again, Auburn is still rolling recruiting wise, and one of the things that has been talked about, I think, Mike, you may have to take credit for this. You kind of started a conversation with your appearance on Feinbaum about how Bama's recruiting in state versus how Auburn's recruiting in state.
Yeah, they were mad about this. You listen, they were so mad, Caesar, that Feinbaum's producer texted me right after. He was like, "Oh, you made him mad." I was like, "We just ended 3 minutes ago." I got a text from a homegirl. She was like, "Yeah, somebody called in right after you, and they were like, I stopped listening right after he said the word flip." So apparently they don't like the word flip. But look, I mean, the question that we're asking today is what?
Does he just hate like old school Houston rappers? Like, what's the problem?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You may hate a little flip, but it is game over for Kalen DeBoer. Look, man, I mean, the question that we're asking today is, is this a big deal? The answer is undoubtedly yes. Now, I will die on this hill. Players from the state of Alabama are the backbones of championships everywhere in college football. When kids get out of state, it's always been a big deal. You guys remember that kid out of Phoenix City a while back, Justin Ross, the receiver, ended up at Clemson. Like it's like letting those kids get away are the reason I think that Auburn has failed to compete for championships regularly. So Hugh Freeze getting those kids when you're in a recruiting fertile ground. This is why football is a big deal in Texas. You know why? Because high school football is a big deal in Texas.
Right.
So they are one of the most fertile recruiting grounds in the country, and the kids that stay home have been the backbone of all those, of the football culture in the state of Texas at the college level. You can't let them get out of state, man, and then act like it doesn't matter. It 100% matters. For years, we watched Saban take seemingly whoever he wanted from the state of Alabama. And I have a stat here for you guys. I got to credit my guy Charlie 5 over at the Locked On podcast, but he posted this on a board and somebody sent it to me. From 2008 to 2023, there were 78 top 100 kids from the state of Alabama. Alabama got 49 of them, more than half. Auburn got 10. Other schools got 19. For 2024, 2025, there are 16 top 100 kids. Alabama got 4. Auburn has 10. They have as many top 100 kids from the state of Alabama in the 2024-2025 cycles than they got the previous 15 years.
That is a fireable offense in and of itself.
Come on, man.
Goodness gracious.
He ends it by saying it's not just that Hugh Freeze is recruiting well in state, it's that he's landed as many top 100 kids in state in less than 2 full years as Auburn has landed over the previous 15 or 16.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
I mean,
yes,
it's a noticeable
a big deal.
difference. It's a noticeable difference in the coaches for 20 years have been talking about winning the state and the priority.
Yes.
Oh, like we're going to get we're going to win the state. Hugh Freeze is the first one that's actually looking like he's doing it.
Alabama, and I'll tell you, I'll give Gus this much credit for what he missed on in the state of Alabama. He was plucking kids from the state of Georgia and Florida.
Sure.
He was getting his fair share of prospects from the Southeast in general. But they're in your backyard every year.
Right.
Every year they're in your backyard. Ohio State currently has the best player in the state of Alabama committed to them.
And insult to injury during that time, Mike. I mean, I'm not going to belabor it, but there were guys who Auburn was leading for throughout their entire recruiting cycle, and Bama would come in last minute and get them.
Right.
Like it's almost you got to give that context to it as well. Auburn was in for these guys, and they either flipped last moment or whatever the case may be. Like Bama was getting whoever they wanted to get, and to me, I think this speaks largely in part to the fact that DeBoer, from a national perspective, he was just in the national championship several months ago.
Right.
This speaks to the fact that DeBoer has a lot of catching up to do in state because, again, he's not a local guy. Outside of what you know about him nationally, these high school coaches, these players aren't really familiar with them. They're familiar with the Hugh Freeze because he's been here longer. And it just speaks to the fact that he's behind the 8 ball in that regard. That is why Auburn is positioned the way they are right now, where they have 8 of the top 10 kids from this state committed to Auburn, looking to try to flip the other 2 from Ohio State, another school that has been recruiting in the state for a while longer than DeBoer. So it just speaks to the fact that he's behind the 8 ball. Now, obviously,
that's a good point that you bring up, though. He's never, like, how many times in Kalen DeBoer's career has he ever tried to recruit the state of Alabama? Like, I mean, I think everybody goes after the top guys, but like in his mind, you're over at Washington or you're wherever you're like, all right, I'm not even going to try for those guys. Let me try to get guys that are closer to where I am or that are more familiar with this brand. So it's not something he even has any level of confidence or competency in. And that's not, again, that's not, when I use the word competency, I don't mean that he's not a good coach or he's not a good recruiter, but it's just different. In this
you need guys who
area
understand the South. You need guys who understand the South. Like, look, if you're going to give Harsin all that flack for that, and, you know, I think what the cry from the Bama side of this has been, but we still have the number 2 recruiting class.
And I know that's where Caesar was going next, and I cut him off, but I apologize.
This year, sure. But is that sustainable long term down the road when you are 2 years removed from being in? Because it's going to be expensive to recruit out west to continue to do that. So, you know, can he sustain West Coast recruiting from Alabama?
Well, I mean, not only can let's say he can sustain it, right? But
okay.
He's making the bet that because you've said this was before, he said this before, he feels like what he does works, right? So he's making the bet it won't matter, right? Like I can get these guys from wherever and it will still be successful because that's what I've always done and it's been successful. He's making the bet that, yeah, we can sustain it because the boosters are going to continue to bankroll it the same way Bama boosters have always bankrolled stuff, and we're going to bring in who we want to, and those kids will be just as successful because that's what I've always done. That's the bet that he's making right now. And the question you have to ask yourself, not only is it sustainable, but how do you sustain it? Because if you don't win, are they going to continue funneling the dollars to say, yeah, keep bringing Sunshine out here to play in SEC when that clearly isn't working, Kalen? Like we need to continue to do what we've always done, which is get these Southern guys.
And let's be clear, those are some large shoes to fill in terms of in-game coaching. There were some big games that Saban pulled out that a lot of other coaches are unable to do.
Right.
You ain't got nowhere else to go but down.
So if the
in terms of what Saban has done on the field.
So if the results on the field suffer, right? And when I say suffer, I mean, let's just talk worst case scenario. They got one of the softest schedules I've ever seen in the first year of the SEC. It's sickening that they got such a soft schedule. But let's say he loses 3 games.
Right.
You know
Right. What's what is the threshold of acceptability
correct?
for failure? Right.
Yeah. So because you're still riding Saban's recruits now.
Bama fans had this conversation, Mike.
Right. You've got a quarterback who is a borderline Heisman candidate. And you just had a guy in the conversation for the Heisman, but at Washington, this is why I asked him the question that I asked him at Media Days. How do you plan to attack SEC defenses? Because look, man, the Pac defenses aren't the same. That's not the same thing. And you may think, well, I have better athletes. So with better athletes, my scheme will look better. But I'm telling you, nothing can ruin talent faster than a mediocre scheme. Texas A&M has entered the chat because they had 1 million 5-stars and just missed the bowl game. We were talking 2 years ago about whether this was the best recruiting class in the history of college football.
Right.
So, yeah, do I think that a Washington in the SEC would have made the national title game last year or even the playoff? The answer is a resounding no. Right? Because they got by Oregon twice. But, homeboy, you're playing Oregon every week in the SEC.
What you're playing every week in the SEC is a combination of Oregon and Utah.
Yeah,
right.
Like,
yeah,
right,
you're playing
sure,
the defenses that can play aggressively and can win in the trenches consistently. Maybe not have the best offense in the world, but enough offense to make it where you've got to score points to win, but they're going to make it difficult for you to score those points. Or you're going to be playing some of the best athletes with the best offenses in the country, right? That's pretty much what the SEC is divided into. It is the Kentuckys, the South Carolinas of the world that maybe the offense isn't always going to be there, but they're going to be tough in the Mississippi State now, and they just got Jeff Levy, so who knows what their offense is going to look like, right? Or you're going against Lane Kiffin and Josh Heupel and now Steve Sarkisian. Like, you're going to have to consistently play against teams that have good athletes on both sides, and some of them have elite offensive minds coaching the other side. Like, it's not the same. It's literally, and I don't even understand how people think there's no person who takes college football seriously who thinks that Pac-12 teams are top to bottom in the same class as SEC teams, top to bottom from a talent perspective.
Well, and we know this, right? Because we see them fail at the highest levels of college football often, right?
Right.
How many times did a Pac team fail to make the playoffs since 2014 when in its inception?
Like, this was a breakthrough year
Oregon
for them this year.
Oregon made
this year was a
first
breakthrough
one,
year.
right? Yeah, Washington made it one year, got waxed up by Alabama, and then what other Pac teams have made
Washington
the playoff?
made it,
and then Washington made it again.
Yeah.
So Washington twice and Oregon, and both
and people will point to SEC bias, but again, it's not as if the Big Ten isn't out here being like, and people resoundingly will say the Big Ten's better than you guys too.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Yeah.
They were better than Pac. I mean, the conference fell apart, so I don't think it's an argument that the conference was weak. But that's why I asked him the question I asked, and now it is Mount Everest levels of cope to say that. So, like, this is not an indication of what the future may look like, because if you falter on the field this year and Hugh Freeze turns in an 8-9 win season, he's got an argument to these recruits to be like, look, we're trending up. I had to catch up. He started with a full deck and moved backwards.
Right.
And you could I don't know that this staff is really into this, but you could kind of negative recruit a little bit against DeBoer and just say, look, man, he's clearly not Nick.
Well, no, here's the thing. They've actually made the pitch unbelievably easy. They're not even focusing on you. They don't think they need you, but we do.
Yeah,
he's made it very clear.
Yeah,
I don't think I need those guys. Like, I'll take them if they want to be here, but I don't need Bama guys.
Right.
To be
and listen, look at their fans on social media. They don't think they need you guys, and we're telling you we want you.
Here's the thing, and to that point, and I think Cole Pinkston may have said this, and I can't remember who, but here's the thing: these big time recruits, they have siblings, they have younger brothers. Right. If we're getting a Derek Smith this year, he has a brother named Eric Smith.
Yeah,
You tell
just
Eric
got Keldrick Falk, and then
you do know
his brother.
You do know that other school didn't even want your brother, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Granted, he was committed to them, but I'm saying an example of some of these guys that Bama's missing on. You do know they were looking at some kid out in California. They wouldn't even. You think they care about it? Like, it's an easier pitch. It's an easier pitch to these kids when Auburn and other schools are coming in and focusing on kids you're overlooking because you're trying to recruit nationally.
Yeah, this is why you never stop recruiting anybody.
Yeah.
After the commitment, this is why they keep recruiting. Because if your pitch to this kid is not great, or he was committed to the idea of Alabama under Saban.
Yeah.
And without the coach, we tell our listeners this week in and week out. Nobody wants to hear it because we hear this foolishness from our own fan base saying we need kids who love Auburn more than they love the coach. That's not realistic. It's not reality.
Right.
Kids commit to a coach and a vision that coach has for them.
Championship programs aren't saying that.
Yeah. Otherwise, why pay the guy $6 million if it's the school that's supposed to draw him in?
You can get even more granular than that, and they commit to position coaches before they commit to head coaches.
Coaching matters.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
Like, listen, Antonio Coleman was committed to Auburn up until his position coach, Jeremy Garrett, left. And he was like, I don't know. And that's when he flipped his commitment that last time back to Bama. He was like, well, a guy who I really liked ain't there no more. Let me go to my second choice, essentially, which was Bama, and go over there. But then they got to talking, and he's like, man, but Vaughn's still here, bro. Like, we're good. And he's like, you know what? You're right. Okay. All right, cool. Right. But the commitment initially was, I really like Jeremy Garrett, because a big portion of the pitch was, look what Jeremy Garrett has done for people and put them in the league.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not just about, right. Like, we talk about kind of historically what programs are able to do with putting that's why you have, tight end U and wide receiver. Like, you look at historically what this program has done, but a lot of that changes when the head coach changes, right? Because, all right, yeah, this school has done that a lot, but has that coach?
Right.
If he hasn't, that's why offensive line recruiting can be so good under a Hugh Freeze, because you can look at the history and say, look at this first round offensive lineman that he got into the league. Look at this first round offensive lineman he got into the league.
Yeah.
Now that changes the perception. Look at what he's done for these quarterbacks previously in other places. Okay, I'm excited about the potential of what this offense can do. That's not about historic Auburn. That's about historic Hugh Freeze and what he could potentially do with the Auburn base of, it's actually just a really nice school to attend to.
Right. Right. So we agree that I think that the thing here, and Mike, you mentioned this a few weeks ago in terms of Hugh Freeze has to start winning some of these battles with Alabama now that there's been a changing of the guard. It looks like he's doing that at the very least in state. What does this bode for future recruiting battles, in your opinion? Because obviously, I think the board is going to have to start building some relationships with high school coaches and players in this state. But how more intense do these recruiting battles become in the future, in your opinion?
I think that it's always going to be intense. But the intensity of the battle largely depends on the quality of the teams involved in the battle. So Auburn, the perception right now nationally is that they're trending up. Hugh Freeze was handed a bag of nothing, right? This is the narrative. I'm not saying whether this is true or not. I'm just saying this is the narrative. Hugh Freeze was handed a bag of nothing, and he's had to build it from the ground up, and look at what they did in year one, and, keep an eye on it. This is why we say it's a critical year for Hugh Freeze this year, to show that he's moving it forward.
Yeah.
So you won 6 games. You lost a couple of disappointing games in the Iron Bowl in New Mexico State. And you don't want to lose those games this year. You can't lose to A&M. You can't lose to New Mexico. You certainly cannot lose to Cal. And I would not recommend losing to Arkansas.
You would recommend it?
I would not recommend losing to Arkansas. So you should start 4-0, going to Oklahoma, give them hell, hopefully win that game, maybe start 5-0, and then over the next 3, even if you lost the next 3 straight.
Auburn is on a high.
Yeah, like I mean, if you get one of the next three, Kentucky or Missouri being the most likely, you guaranteed almost guaranteed an 8-win season with Vanderbilt and ULM still on the schedule.
Yeah.
Texas A&M is looking pretty beatable. At least right now, we'll see what Elko can do with the talent that he's inherited. And then you maybe have one of the more anticipated Iron Bowl matchups in a very, very long time. Year 2 Hugh Freeze versus year 1 Caitlin DeBoer. The first Iron Bowl in 17 years without Nick Saban. Come on, man. That's going to be a hot ticket in Tuscaloosa. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's going to be very intense. Hugh Freeze has to hold up his end of the bargain, though. And thus, he's got to field a more confident offense. He's got to make Cam Coleman a star. He's got to get Jarquez Hunter to the league. And he can't have a quarterback at the bottom of the league in pass attempts and yards and interceptions and every other category.
He's been pretty forward about the fact that last year was not a good representation of his offense and what he intends to do. Yeah. He has to. Year two has to be him moving closer to the offense that he intends to bring to Auburn.
Yeah, I think that what is going to happen in the future if Alabama falters and Hugh Freeze continues to grow? Because it has been, to me, I'm just saying, so much rode on the name of Nick Saban. He literally retired because he felt like his recruiting pitch was no longer an effective message. So he's saying, I had all this success, but the way I did it, and credit to a guy who adapted year after year for so many years. Finally, he's like, yeah, you know what? Now I don't want to reinvent myself.
Not in this way.
Right.
I don't want to do
this. This is the bridge too far for me.
Yeah, right. Hugh Freeze comes in. He's like, I got no problem with it. Caleb DeBoer looks like a kid in the candy store right now with all the talent he inherited, all the NIL money behind him. It's great. I thought I read somewhere where they were like, starting quarterback at the University of Alabama right now, like from the time you get named the starter, you're a millionaire. That's how high profile Saban made that program. Will it be worth that much 2 years from now under Caleb DeBoer?
See. Yeah, but so
they're big shoes.
I would argue that it's still like the brand itself will continue to be at that level, and what they will hold on to hope is that for a couple of years, and again, this is given hypothetical situations. Let's say it isn't all sunshine and rainbows the first year. It'll be, well, Nick Saban went blah 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 his first year. Give him time. And then year 2, if it doesn't turn around, it'll be, well, he just had to get acclimated. After year 3, if it doesn't go well, they'll just say, well, we got the wrong guy. Let's switch it out. That brand will continue to endure because people will have hope that the brand will resurface. Look at what Miami has been doing Miami's still spending a crap ton of money to bring in recruits, and they haven't done anything nationally. Some brands just can endure. Texas A&M done nothing.
It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. To that point, Ike, when you look at what Miami did with Larry Coker, they went to 2 national championships right after that change in head coach, right? So it's not like you're going to see Alabama go to nothing overnight, right? You saw it with Les Miles when he took over for Nick Saban at LSU. It took a while. He even won a national championship throughout this process. But after a few years, when it became Les Miles' program, you realize it was a little different. Yeah. In LSU. And so I think it's going to take a while giving the momentum that Saban built for so many years being at Alabama. I just don't see Alabama being, I'll be surprised if it happens.
Well, Caesar, let's not get ahead of ourselves here, right? It could go to nothing overnight. It could absolutely go to nothing overnight.
Right? He just did his Doctor Strange, and he went through all of the scenarios, and he was
right. Let's not rule anything out here, okay? Right? It could go to nothing overnight for sure.
Tony, you gotta die.
In this universe,
man,
yeah, our Strange went to jail. Look, he's not inheriting what Nick Saban inherited. He absolutely is not. He is
No, he's. I mean,
he's
the cupboard's
inheriting a
significantly
program
more full.
Right.
markedly
Yeah, sure.
more in better position than what Nick Saban inherited, following up Mike Shula. And Shula wasn't terrible. He was just not a good college coach. But this what he's doing, I think, is it's got a little bit more pressure on it from day one. And Hugh Freeze, what he's done with recruiting is he's built himself equity for the future to say, let me get my guys in. He's not Freeze. I give Freeze this credit, man. Listen, this man will stick to the script. And I've said this a few times on the court in Nashville. Me and Ike celebrating Auburn's SEC tournament win in basketball, championship. And I just saw him and I was like, so when are we going to be celebrating your SEC championship? The first, without hesitation, instantly, rapid fire, I need 2 more recruiting classes because the portal is not the way to build a program. And he knew it. In his mind, he already has a timetable for when this thing is going to be effective. And people are buying that message on his end. So to some extent, it takes some pressure off of you as long as you don't fall completely apart on the field. You still got to show progress every year.
Sure.
So no G5 losses this year, Hugh. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yes, we will take you to task if you lose to New Mexico or Alabama A&M.
Hell,
I might even throw Cal
year,
there.
but it'll be even
Or
worse.
ULM losses, no.
Yeah, or Cal or Vandy. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
bro.
Yeah, it's not. We're not gonna deal with that this year. But assuming that those are wins and that he has improved this thing and the roster is good enough now that you can just chalk those as wins, because if they lose, it won't be a talent issue. Again, it's going to be a coaching issue that kills them in those games if they lose it. Then you got to just show improvement in some of the other ways. And you took Alabama to 4th and 31 last play with the squad you had last year. Now, it's a different proposition going into Tuscaloosa, but I would argue that was Saban's Bryant-Denny. Matter of fact, they might as well just change the name of the stadium to Saban-Denny. No, he's a better coach than Bear Bryant.
Just change it to Denny's because it.
Hey, say that on Paul Feinbaum's show so you can piss off some of the old school guys.
He's a better coach than Bear Bryant.
Go ahead and say that and piss them off some more.
He's got way more competition than Bear Bryant had. Yeah, he's going, and we'll see. And even he complained about that fan base, leaving games early and the entitlement. And come on, man. For years, they have been the worst winners in the history of college football. And now you don't have the guy who delivered all those moments for you. The guy who delivered championships in a year where you didn't even win the SEC. He produced. And if you want to sustain what he built, you have to produce. That's what Hugh Freeze gets. He knows it. He's like, I got to get the dudes, and then I got to produce. But it will be markedly easier to produce if I got more dudes. This is the point that B. Will makes all the time about Saban, the leeway, the cushion that Saban and Kirby has, because they just have so many more guys than everybody else. They don't have to be the best on-field coaches. They can afford to make mistakes and mess up, because at the end of the day, they got guys who will go out and just make plays.
Right.
They seemingly. You know what?
This was that whole thing that they were talking about, that you were talking about with Josh Pate, of like, the coaches around the SEC didn't think Brian Harsin got it. He thought, I can coach my way. Yeah, I can coach my way into wins. It's like, nah, this ain't the league to do that, bro. Like, that works at Boise, but down here you got to have dudes. Look, and those dudes make plays.
Harsin wanted model student athletes. I'm not saying you shouldn't go out and try to recruit that, but if you want to win, you're going to have to take some knuckleheads and you got to get them in line.
Yeah. And he didn't want to have to do that. He didn't want to have to put up with the headache that comes with the entitlement of, like, I'm really that dude. So I'm going to just walk around here like I'm that dude. But like, that arrogance and that brazenness is what makes you really an amazing athlete, because you don't care. It's the
byproduct of you already being a baller.
Yeah, like you don't really, like, man, I'm finna go out here and ball. Like, the question is not who's gonna let me, it's who's gonna stop me.
And if
you don't have that attitude when you step out there, like, that attitude, like, don't just go away when you, I take my pads off now, all of a sudden I'm just a regular dude walking around. Like, nah, this is how I live my life, bro.
Yeah. Those dudes have an attitude. Those are the type of guys that they walk into Chipotle and they ask for double chicken and guac, and they don't pay for it.
And be mad if you try to make them pay
Yeah.
for it. Like, what are you saying?
This is the guy that looks you in the eye and say, "Hey, don't play games with my second scoop," and then you re-scoop the chicken.
Actually, no, you bring out the fresh chicken from the back and replace it, and then give him the second
Exactly.
scoop. Yes.
Level 1000 aura. Those are the type of guys, and you need those guys on your team.
Right.
Now, Kirby just kicked Ra Thomas off the team, but he was like, speeding tickets I can deal with. This is something else, right? You got to go. He understands it. He needs dudes. That's why he got so many. That's why they got so many problems, man.
Right.
He knows he's got to take some knuckleheads.
He brought Ra in to be on the team, right? And he's like, okay, well, I can deal with this until I can't deal with it.
Until I can't deal with it. Yeah, he was good enough that it was worth the risk.
Yeah, right.
He had some issues in January. He had some issues at Mississippi State. Yeah, like and then finally he just went, a little too far, and a lot too far, and they had to let him go. But you need those guys.
Last point,
Hugh Freeze understands that.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're going to get to some of you guys' comments because y'all have been definitely giving some great comments. We're going to get to those after the break. You are watching the Weekend Tailgate. Please share this video, smash that like button. And if you have just now found us, even some of you Bama trolls, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. You know you're coming back next week anyway. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Let's pause, pay some bills, and we'll come back and talk with a slow fall.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. The Opelika Rage Room in Opelika, Alabama. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Call or text 334-777-6688 to set up a session today, or check them out online at opelikaRageRoom.com. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com.
The deal, $5.99 a month. Please sign up for these Patreon memberships. We need you guys to jump in here, help us keep the work that we're doing here at the War Report going at a high level. We're doing lots of great stuff here this fall camp. So you want to keep plugged into the War Report. We're going to try to bring you guys as much content as possible. I want to encourage everybody to check us out on podcasts. We're going to be pumping out a lot of audio-only content here, so you definitely don't want to miss that. Subscribe on whatever you listen to podcasts on, the Auburn Express, Uptempo, College Loop, and Just a Sec, bringing you guys lots of great audio-only content. I want to thank show sponsor MANSCAPED. Guys, sizzle alert. This summer, let the only thing smoking at your barbecue be the grill and not your grooming game. Get ready for the ultimate cookout season with Manscaped. Whether you're flipping burgers or cannonballing into the pool, make sure your meat looks neat with the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. Fire up your grooming routine and keep it cool with Manscaped. Head to manscaped.com and use code RAPPORT for 20% off plus free shipping. Let's make this summer sizzle for all the right reasons. And after you're done with Manscaped, head on over to Joy Mode. If you're like me, maybe before the gym, and see how that goes for you. But look, let's call out the obvious. Everyone wants to head to the bedroom with confidence, feeling like the best version of themselves. Joy Mode Sexual Performance Boosters is an all-natural, science-backed solution to increase blood flow, firmness, stamina, and performance. It comes in a palm-sized packet like your favorite electrolyte power, stirred in 6 to 8 ounces of water 45 minutes before athletic performance or boom boom room activity, and watch the magic unfold. Not only is this the only supplement you'll need in the bedroom, but it also supports your blood vessels, cardiovascular health, athletic performance, blood pressure, and more. Visit usejoymode.com and use code REPORT for 20% off plus free shipping. Guys, want to give a quick shout out to title sponsor Golden's Cast Iron. Head over to goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights, and code TWR for $65 off your fire pits and Kamado grills. I got the Kamado here at the house, man, guys. And I can't lie, man. It's served up some good family moments over the last 12 months. So definitely go get your grills for the summer.
Let's go ahead and grab some of you guys' comments. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Tiffany Byers, appreciate you. You have gifted a total of 10 War Report memberships today.
Yay.
We appreciate you
40 more to go.
doing that. Lake Show Boss sent us a $9.99 super chat. I don't know if you meant to send us anything, but if you did, drop a comment. We'll definitely try to start and read it out. We appreciate your super chat there, sir. Unleashed Magazine just became a member. Welcome,
Hey,
sir.
welcome, sir.
Welcome back.
Kenneth Jolie says Locked on Notre Dame confirmed that Deuce Knight was in Auburn for Big Cat last week.
I didn't see Deuce Knight there, but
remember what I said. They're pretty big on bringing people and hiding them somewhere. Right?
Yeah,
so, like people don't see him, so he might have been here and just nobody saw him.
yeah, it's possible. Yeah, I did not see Deuce Knight at the complex, but I will tell you this: the Notre Dame boards are going nuts over this right now. Holy crap! I don't know if you've seen it, but the Fighting Irish they're fighting with each other over this Deuce Knight thing, and it's wild to see what it is doing to them there. They don't want to lose this guy, but we'll see where that lands up. Apparently, Deuce likes to play the game, so we'll see if he throws them the deuces. Comes to the Plains.
Let's see what you did there. Corey Dub says if we flip Deuce, Naeem Offord will finish top.
Yeah, I don't see how you don't. I think that with current 14 or 15 4-stars in, adding a 5-star and another 4-star, plus there are going to be some other a few stragglers on the back end of that may be 3 stars. It's a huge class for Hugh Freeze. You'll be bordering on it, and you'll be bordering on it. Yeah, kind of go I just want to make this point to Corey's comment. It makes it interesting, this whole at least we got the number 2 class. Part of the beauty of landing a lot of the in-state recruits when you can also recruit nationally is you keep your rival down.
Right.
Like you're winning, but you're keeping your rival down because you're keeping kids out that could beat you out of their program. So DeBoer allowing those kids to go to Auburn, I mean, you're letting them improve significantly. Then you're acting like it may not come back to bite you because you're getting kids from the other side of the country. That's crazy talk.
Yeah, I guess it'd be weird if the top 10 guys in the state of Alabama weren't also top 150 guys nationally, right? Like if we were talking about the state of
Nevada,
Kansas, Nevada, and you're getting the top 10 guys from Nevada to come play at your program, you're like, we're killing it in Nevada. Like, who cares?
You sure are, Brian Harsin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? But it's not as if that's not saying nothing to have the top 10 guys or 8 of the top 10 guys committed to your program coming to your program here within state when the state is Alabama and the recruits are rated as highly as those recruits are. That's not insignificant.
Yeah.
So pretending as if it doesn't matter just because, I got this great kid coming over from bumfuck, who cares? Okay, all right. Well,
cool.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations on that. We'll see if that holds. Right? Because I'm telling you, once they see what it's like, what his system looks like in the SEC, you may not be able to go back out west in the next recruiting cycle and convince that kid to come over. He said, if I'm gonna move across the country, I might as well just go to an SEC program with a coach that's established, or go Big Ten, or stay home in the Big Ten and go to USC or UCLA or Oregon or one of these other programs that you used to play against and just join the Big Ten.
Also, the reason why this matters is we go back to what what Commissioner Sankey was talking about the difference in the SEC and any other conference that's out there is that the SEC brand is still a regional brand, right? So if you're a Bama guy, or you're from the state of Alabama, I should say, you're playing against schools that are in close proximity. Like all of your games are close by, right? Like we know this is a big deal from talking to parents. Like not only can I come see my son play on home games easily, but it's actually not a tough trip for me to get to their road games either. It's just a couple hours drive to get to most of the games in which they're going to play. That matters to them as well.
Sure.
And it makes the rivalry more intense because if you're an in-state recruit going back home on the holidays when you lost to your in-state rival or you lost to Georgia is a bigger deal. If you're from the state of Georgia, you play at Auburn and Georgia spanks y'all, you don't want to have to hear that when you go back home.
Mm-hmm.
If you're from the state of Alabama and you lose the Iron Bowl, that means more to you because that rivalry is more intense there. This matters. It does. It does. I don't know. There's 50 ways I can say that it matters that you win this, but it does. And does that rivalry mean the same thing to that kid that's from California? He don't even understand it for real. He doesn't understand what the Iron Bowl means and its significance. But if you grew up in the state of Alabama, you do.
The stakes are higher if you're from here because you're going to have to live with that loss. Like you got loved ones reminding you of what happened, right? So yeah, it hits different in a lot of ways. Virginia double dribbled says from an Alabama perspective, could West Coast recruiting be more sustainable with no Pac-12 conference and road games in the Midwest and East anyway?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure that matters. I mean, it's not like those schools went away, right? Like they're still there, and again, the big programs joined the Big Ten. So I still think that those West Coast schools still have a good draw right now. In year one, it's working for him because of what he was left. Once it becomes his, then we'll see what. And I think that's the thing with Hugh Freeze, right? That's what gave him such an uphill battle. Was it the perception about what he was left made recruiting harder? He did the best he could in year one, and he had to find a message that would resonate with recruits for year two, his first full year of recruiting. He found it. That's a great recruiter. You handed me nothing, and I convinced these kids. This is why we give Johnny Harris so much praise.
Right.
Look what she was handed. No help. Zero. And, and I'll save that for another show, but like the fact that we're sitting here without on a contract year, she hasn't been offered a contract extension yet, based on what you gave her and what she's done with it. 0 SEC wins to her sports equivalent of a playoff by year 3 is crazy. Yeah. Hugh Freeze is trending to do the same thing, hopefully.
Yeah, he is, actually.
If he did that, if he had Auburn in the top half of a playoff by year 3, we're talking about a massive extension.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, I don't, like I said, it's what they were handed. I don't think it's going to matter. I think once they see what he does with what he's handed, and once it becomes his, right? And that's the thing. Like, at least you have that if you're Hugh Freeze, right? Is you've got top talent. Now, I think most people understand what Hugh Freeze is. He's a coach that's going to win some big games. He's beat Saban twice. That's a short club of people. Hell, I think even Kirby has got 2 championships, and he's only pulled it off once.
Yeah.
Hugh has done it twice. Right? But he's also going to lose some very frustrating games for you. He did it at Liberty. He did it at Ole Miss. Hell, he did it at Auburn last year.
Right.
He already got that out of the way. So
hopefully we're done with that.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is that there's an understanding, I guess, for recruits about what Hugh Freeze's Auburn is going to look like. I'm not sure these kids know what they're buying into at Alabama right now. But we're going to find out after this year will be a step toward, and I'll even extend them a year because their schedule is Charmin soft. Guys, it's 4-ply soft. It's awful. They got lucky in year 1, so he better not mess up with this schedule because it's only going to get harder after this.
JJ Brand, before we get into the topic, so is this the only time that Auburn actually wants to? Hey, yo.
What?
Hey, yo, JJ, you gotta chill, dog.
I don't want the D from nobody. Talk about this.
Yikes.
Thanks for being here with us, man.
Yeah,
as always.
Fall
camp. Players have taken the field. We've seen a lot of images, and there's been a lot of talk about some impressive-looking freshmen, most notably Perry Thompson. We see a clip here of some of the receivers, some of the players here in fall camp. They've been going wild over some of these players. Mike, what have you been hearing, sir?
Look, there's a lot of hype around Perry Thompson right now. Now, when we sat down with Hugh Freeze one-on-one, because that's what we do here at the War Report, baby. We don't rely on other people's interviews. We do our own. Freeze said, I commented on how much Cam Coleman has developed physically since he got to Auburn. Perry Thompson is coming in pretty close to what Cam Coleman needed a whole spring physically to accomplish.
Yeah.
He is an absolute monster. If his route running is on point, like, I got to ask myself, you start off with Alabama A&M, Cal, and New Mexico. And how much opportunity do they give Perry Thompson in those 3 games? Can he position himself from camp to get enough time in those games to maybe – it's going to be hard. Oh, it's going to be hard because I think he plays outside, right? Like, so – how can they work him onto the field somehow?
Yeah,
and 12 personnel, it's going to be difficult, I think.
Yeah, but there's the answer is what kind of personnel groupings are they trying out there?
Yeah, right. Yeah, but even in 11, right? Like, I mean, I would think that Robert Lewis would be the next guy out. So yeah, I want to see how they're going to use him. How are they going to deploy Perry Thompson? He looks very sure-handed and. For all the talk over the years about Auburn receivers not being able to catch the ball, I think that we may actually be beyond that era. I said this before. If these guys struggle, I am not prepared to say that they're busts.
Right.
I'm telling. I don't want to hear that from anybody. I'm sorry.
You may need to say. You may need to talk about maybe the coaching staff being a bust if these players aren't living up to their potential.
Correct. Now, one of the things we talked about on Feinbaum was Cam Coleman being one of the most anticipated prospects in the last 15 years for Auburn. Now, Byron Cowart was a number 1 overall guy, but he was on defense. And these offensive dudes hit differently, man.
Yeah.
They do. Right? Like, they're the flash. They're the showmanship. So getting a guy like Cam Coleman or Perry Thompson and them not becoming stars, camp is the first stepping stone to that for Perry Thompson because he missed a spring. He wasn't here. But Hugh Freeze 100% wants to put him on display as quickly as possible. Because you know what happens? If Perry Thompson is starting by the end of the season alongside Cam Coleman, and those guys are projecting to be NFL draft picks, it helps you recruit your next big-time receiver because you got great receivers in, you're putting them in the league, and there's a clear timetable for where they're going to be out of here. It's going to be the next dude's turn.
Yeah.
So if I'm a prospect, I don't have to sit here and think, oh, well, I won't be sitting behind Perry Thompson for the next 4 years because he's just okay, but not that great. You're going to be like, no, he's going. He's not going to last 4 years here.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to watch what they do with Perry Thompson. Now last spring, we heard a lot about Cam Brown, and he was out there. He was making plays, and he looked the part. He still is a monster physically. But there were some issues that felt like there with absorbing the system and, speed of the game and things of that nature. So it's going to be interesting. I think that Hugh Freeze is going to lean into his guys. I don't think remember earlier this spring when everyone was just like, but you guys forgot about Caleb Burton. And we're talking about him a lot. I don't hear anybody clamoring for Caleb Burton right now. I haven't heard his name in a month.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's not because he's bad. It's just that I think this coach is going to play his guys.
Listen, man, they're going to the point that you're making about Perry Thompson and getting out there on the field and, the snap counts, man. Like, I hate to keep going back to the numbers. I know people get brain fog when I start trying to talk about, like, it's really going to be how many snaps can they get him out there on the field with. And if they're rotating guys the way that they want to and playing tempo the way that they want to, then they're going to have contribution from that second team. Like, I think we're so used to only seeing 2 really good pass catchers out there that you have to have them on the field all the time, that you forget that there's depth there now, right? And so you can go and say, all right, we're going to play this guy for 4 or 5 snaps in a row because you're having, 7, 8 play drives, right? We'll play this guy 4 or 5 snaps in a row. Then we'll get this person in for 3 or 4 snaps and rotate guys at the wide receiver position, especially if you're going tempo and you're trying to shuffle guys in and off the field, doing all that sort of thing. So if you're in the 2 deep, you'll get an opportunity to go out there and get some snaps. Now, how many targets does a guy get just from the snaps? I think it's going to be a different story, but Perry Thompson's going to play. He's going to be out there. He's going to have an opportunity. They're going to find ways to get Perry Thompson involved. I think one of the things that I will give Coach Hugh Freeze credit for that people don't want to credit him for is his stubborn mentality around, I won't let a playmaker on this team not get an opportunity to make plays if he's my guy, right? And people don't realize how much Robbie was kind of one of the guys that he wanted to be able to showcase last year. So he forced opportunities for Robbie to get out there on the field. Yes, I mentioned Robbie Ashford. Stones, throw them right now. But he forced opportunities for Robbie to get out there on the field because he's like, man, I can't. He said it from the very beginning. I got to play him. He's too much of a playmaker for me to just leave him sitting on the bench. He will do the same thing at other positions. Perry Thompson's too much of a play. I can't not play him. He's 6'3", 212 pounds and runs a 4.4 something. Yeah, he's going to play. I'm going to put him out there on the field. I don't care if it's jet sweeps, which is crazy to think about a 6'3" kid running jet sweeps. Go look at his high school tape. It happened.
Yeah.
I don't care if we run him on jet sweeps when we get him in there, little pop pass stuff. Perry Thompson will be in the football game, and he will make impacts on Saturdays. How much that happens, I don't know. That's on Perry Thompson and his development, but it's going to happen. He will play as a freshman, and he will be able to make significant impact on football games. He's going to burn that red shirt. I feel more confident in that than I ever have. Perry Thompson's burning his red shirt. I don't know. I don't remember what I said when we talked about this before. I was like, if I didn't say he's burnt, I'm saying it now. I think he burned
I think just you could burn it now. Just have the whole ceremony. Get the fire barrel and just take the red shirt and throw it in there and then light it whole fire. I don't see a world where you save him at all. And you got to pay attention to that social media account because once they start pumping a guy, like since Hugh Freeze has been here, once they start showcasing a guy, that guy's going to be on the field. Now, when we told everybody about Jay Fair, and we were like, "Oh, Jay Fair, who's he going to start over?" And then they started releasing Jay Fair's electric graphics, and it was like, "Yeah, we told you." Now they didn't throw the ball very much, so all the receivers suffer from that. Jay's at USC now, but my point is that that social media account kind of gives it away. It does, right? Yeah. Once they start advertising a guy, you should pay attention. And right now they're advertising Perry Thompson. So I don't see a reason not to keep your eyes there to see what he's going to do. It's just so interesting because he's a threat on the outside. He's got great speed. He's physical. I think that, going up and try to outmuscle him for a ball is going to be very difficult for a lot of DBs in this league.
Yeah.
He's going to dominate. Perry Thompson is what they like to call an 80-20 guy. Ball's in the air, 80% chance I'm going to get it. 5% chance that you're going to get it. 15% chance that if I don't get it, then nobody's going to get it.
And all that does, in theory, is helps the QB.
Yeah, that's it. All right. And Peyton Thorne is going to be, in talking to Peyton Thorne, one of the things that gave me hope was how much confidence he has in these guys. Something we didn't hear from him last year. But he has a lot of confidence in Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson. Now, we do player interviews at 11:30 on Monday. I hope they send Perry out there because it's going to be interesting. Or give me Peyton. Let's talk to him. Let's talk Perry Thompson, Peyton. How's he doing? How do you feel about this guy and the quarterback's confidence? Because look, you pointed this out in film reviews about the hesitancy of the quarterback to pull the trigger, leading to turnovers or busted plays. And I wondered how much of that was kind of just mental because he just didn't trust guys to be where they were supposed to be. If you remove that mental block from him, does he just let it fly a lot more this year? Does that hesitancy, from a psychological standpoint, go away? And then we see a better Peyton Thorne because he's like, look, man, I can just throw it up to these guys and they're going to win. That's how historic this receiver class was.
Right.
And I would point back, in the times in history that we've seen these types of receivers, like the Julio Joneses of the world playing with Greg McElroy, for example. Right. Greg, and Greg's a friend now, a friend of the show, so I want to be careful with my wording. But he was what Cam would call a game manager. Now, that's not a negative thing. Right. He makes the plays that he's supposed to make. And, he was a good quarterback. But he wasn't a guy that was going to go bust an 80-yarder for you if you needed it. He would find the guy who could bust an 80-yarder. That was McElroy, right? And so when you pair him with guys like Julio Jones, of course he's going to look good because Julio would go to the moon to get a ball. Hugh Freeze believes he has those kind of guys. Ken Dorsey in the early 2000s, he had one of the greatest runs at quarterback we've ever seen.
Right.
Undefeated national title and undefeated through the regular, on the way to another national title. And it finally ended, I think, in like 2001 against Ohio State or 2002 against Ohio State and in that national title game.
Arguably, they should have wanted to. But
yeah, it took them 3 overtimes to get to lose it. So, but who was he throwing to? He was throwing to Kellen Winslow and Santana Moss, and like Ken Dorsey barely took a snap as a pro quarterback, and he almost never lost on the college level. But the guys around him were so good, his numbers looked fantastic. They barely got him drafted. And he won every game he played, just about. Hugh Freeze wants to build that, and he thinks guys like Perry Thompson are the key to doing that. So it takes a little less pressure off him to go out and find that super stud QB because the competition for those guys is truly fierce.
Yeah.
But then when he finds him, and you compare that stud QB, this is what Cam did was so amazing. He didn't have not one person on offense that Cam played with got drafted. And he carried that team on his back to a national title. Quite literally. Now, you luck into Cam Newtons. Like, you luck into Cam Newtons. You get lucky with those guys. And I think Hugh Freeze understands that. So he thinks, more times than not, I'm going to have an average to better than average quarterback. How many Perry Thompsons can I go find? Right? Guys that you can put in camp, and they're clearly better than everybody else from the first day of camp after missing the spring. That's what they're saying about Perry Thompson right now. Like, he's just like, when Cam stepped on the field, first day of spring, he was just clearly better. Hank Brown said during our interview with him, he said, during the spring game, when I saw the safety set his feet, I knew I was throwing it up. They're saying the same things about Perry now. And I'm listening. I'm like, okay, well, they said the same thing about Cam. They truly got 2 top 30 guys. So the way these guys project right now, it's really exciting to hear this about Perry Thompson because they were saying the same things about Cam, and he has not disappointed so far. Now you're telling me Hugh Freeze might have 2 of them?
Yeah, and again, that's not even counting all of the praise that Lambert Smith is getting in camp.
Yeah.
So it's just like, bro, like, this is why we say over and over again, bro, like, at this point in time, it's really about Peyton Thorne. Because if you can't mess this up, bro. Like you've got to be able to just utilize all of this greatness that's around you, and part of that is I don't want to put the success or failure of this team on freshman wide receivers, right? Like, and to what you were saying earlier, like I don't want to hear that those guys are the busts in this scenario because it's not them.
Not him.
Yeah, it's definitely not. If it doesn't go right, you can't point to those guys.
Yeah,
as the reason
somebody else messed them up,
yeah.
Right? Like, it's you can't keep getting top 10, top 20, top 30 guys, and then they're all bust somehow. Like, no, you got a systemic issue that is rooted in coaching and development. If that's what's happening, so it'll be interesting to see. But like, I don't think they've missed on these guys. I don't. I think these were can't miss guys.
Agreed. Any other thoughts, gentlemen, before we get to the comments?
No, that's about it.
Well, listen, let's check out some of you guys' questions, comments here. Stuart Donald says the biggest issue with class rankings is that they put zero attention on satisfying team needs. Taking that into account, Gus's classes wouldn't be ranked as highly. Hughes is killing it. Raylan, or I guess he's saying Kalen, is not.
Yeah. Look, I think that Gus had an evaluation issue. It was, they were getting stars, but and they had a development issue clearly, especially on the offensive side.
For sure.
But I posted up 2019 Auburn versus LSU. Caesar, you and I were at the Classic that year when they played that game. We were at the Classic, and it was kind of a bad weather game. But one thing that stood out to me about that team is the defense was championship level. It was crazy. And somebody said in the comments, they were like, if they actually called holding in that game, I think Auburn may have won it because Derek Brown was getting held all up and down the field in that game. It was pretty bad. But on the defensive side of the ball, they had not had a development problem, and they were recruiting well on that side. So the top, 50 guys they recruited on that side of the ball were panning out. On the offensive side of the ball, they weren't. So you clearly had an evaluation and development issue there. And I hope that's what Hugh Freeze doesn't have. You can afford to miss on a guy, but you need so many guys that when you do miss, it's just next guy up. And, Saban missed on some guys. Sure, you just had so many of them.
That's why you stack classes, right?
Yeah.
That's why you stack classes. And again, getting back to the argument we made in terms of in-state recruiting, when you're continuously winning and getting your fair share of those kids in state, when you do miss on a kid, it's not as devastating as it would have been for us when we missed out on, or when we got the number one recruit, that defensive line kid.
Mm-hmm.
When he didn't make it, we felt that.
Right.
We felt that it wasn't necessarily next man up. So again, we're not resting our hopes and dreams on one particular guy, but when you're stacking classes, you can afford to miss on a kid. So a name I like, hell, like this. Damian Craig was bringing Jameis Winston to Auburn before he went to FSU. I'm a little conflicted on this one. Because given what we know to be true about the head coach who was here at the time and what he normally would do with offenses, Auburn was a little dysfunctional around this time.
Yeah. It was. I don't think it was a great environment.
I think it worked out well for Jameis.
Yeah, sure. He got the Heisman. And he beat Auburn. Whatever.
Yeah. I think the point they were making is about Damian Craig being the reason why he was committing somewhere, right? Like he wasn't committing to Florida State. He was committing to Damian Craig and what he was bringing to Florida State.
Yeah.
Lawrence Robinson says, do y'all think the everything school mantra boosts recruiting? I mean, we almost landed Ryan Williams after a basketball game.
I think that there's so much. There's a lot to be said for having a good sports culture all around.
Yeah.
Now, SUNY just won a gold medal. And think about what she did for the sports culture.
And two bronze medals, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
They had a former teammate that was talking some wild stuff on the side. I don't know if you guys saw it, Michaela somebody, but she was just like, outside of Simone Biles, these girls are lazy and lack work ethic, and they all shaded her after they won the gold. They were like, look at our lazy, non-ethical team winning gold. Like, yeah, they all shaded her. Like, I mean, she has a history of like wild racist comments or whatever, but like, I look at what SUNY did for Auburn. Look at what basketball has done for Auburn. When you have to think about Auburn year round, and to your point, like how many recruits showed up to Auburn basketball games last year?
Right.
I think when the athletes start coming out and they start seeing what women's basketball is going to do, again, from August to, April, May, there's always something to talk about. And that does help you, I think, in recruiting, at least to some extent. Can you imagine if the women's basketball team beat South Carolina or something this year, just like they beat LSU last year? They beat the defending national champs last year. I had 8,000 people at that game. I do think it helps. I think it helps when you keep your arenas and your stadiums full year round. Baseball wasn't great this year, but I mean, they had back-to-back College World Series. I don't know, man. Like I think the everything school mantra certainly helps.
Agreed. Lake Show Boss says, Ike, I owe you an apology. When I first heard you say you don't care about recruiting, not necessarily true, but Ike, you can speak on that. I laughed and turned my nose at you. Now all we talk about is 2026 players, and I just don't care. So I'm sorry, man. But go ahead and clarify.
I typed in the comments. I've never said I don't care about recruiting. What I've said is that I don't get excited about recruiting or recruits until they sign. Like, because people are always like, oh, what do you think of, such and such that sign? I'm like, I don't know. I've never watched their film. Like, I am just not devoting the time and the energy to get excited about a particular player until they sign, because otherwise I'm sitting here like devoting all this energy to somebody who ends up playing somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to wait on signing day. I'm going to turn up. Like I turn up every year on signing day. If you are not part of Green Name Gang, and you don't see, I do a marathon live on every signing day where I start early that morning. Every time a recruit comes in, I turn up on signing day because I know this dude's playing at Auburn. Cool. Now we get a chance. We're gonna dig into this film, because it's not like me getting a jump start on them doing some sort of evaluation by their commitment. You're still not gonna see them play until a whole year later, even after they sign. So I don't need to like get excited in July about a dude who won't play until the following August, September.
And I think that's fair. Ike. I know for me, it's exciting, but in the back of my mind, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, look,
I think you can enjoy the fact, because you got to remember just how many big time recruits were just missing. Like, Auburn was a place at one time where you would just come through Auburn on your way to another school. Like, these guys they're visiting Auburn, but they're not really giving Auburn a serious look.
They're Auburn's in the top 3 of their final blah blah. But like when it came to signing day and they're doing the whole for the next 3 to 4 years, and then you sitting here looking stupid, like, all right, well, I guess we just missed that guy again. Or they're getting tattoos on their arm of Auburn. Everybody's like, oh, he's definitely signing here.
So it is, to me, I think it's fun to see that Auburn, there's a lot of momentum that's happening right now. But I think to your point, in the back of your mind, you got to keep in mind, until these kids sign, there are other people trying to flip these kids just like we flipped, just like Auburn has flipped other kids. It can happen to us. It has happened to Auburn, just like it's happening to other schools. So keep that in mind as you're excited about recruiting. That's my whole message. Be excited about it. It's great, but just
it's
know
still a race until you cross the tape is all I'm saying, bro. Like,
December is 4 months away.
Until you cross the tape, it is still a race, and I'm not throwing a victory parade about coming out of the starting blocks fast.
Well, Ant Robinson is, because he's saying, Ike, I want to take my lab now.
Go ahead, brother.
Well, listen, you're a little closer to it, because I've said this over and over again. Early signing day, these July and August commitments do mean a little more, because there's less time for them to change their mind to flip, right? Especially if they want to get into spring ball. So as soon as that season, their high school season is over and they are physically able to sign, you're going to see a lot of these kids secured. I think that's I remember a couple of years ago when Harsin, everyone was like, why didn't Harsin didn't sign anybody on signing day? And it was like, okay, but like most people are securing the majority of their classes on early signing day now. That's just the way it's happening. And I'm not defending his recruiting. I'm just saying, I just thought that was a nothing burger. Like, who cares if he didn't sign? I mean, I don't care if Hugh Freeze signed one person on the regular signing day.
Classes too. Who was in the early stages. So I don't think our minds shifted to realize that this is the consequence of majority of your class signing early, is that you're going to have an uneventful national signing day.
If a kid says he's not going to sign in December, I'm like, Ike, I'm divesting emotionally, because that you holding out for some reason. If you know where you're going,
we talked
why
about
not sign in December?
Yeah, we talked about this. Like, I am going to be very interested to see how many of these current 22 guys that we have on here, how many of these 22 guys just go ahead and get it out of the way on early signing day. We're not holding out. usually that's going to happen more so with some of the guys that are like 3 stars that are closer to like
or
they don't know
or possible coaching changes or something like that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, you will likely have if you're a 3-star in this class for Auburn right now, and you signed or you committed super early in the process, those are the guys I think that are a little more likely to not sign early because they might be thinking to themselves, man, I might not, if you're a 3-star cornerback right now and you're seeing the cornerback that they're signing, I might not see the field, bro. Like, I might just need to go ahead and go somewhere else where they prioritize me a little bit more. That's a possibility. And, listen, if that's what they choose to do, that's what they choose to do. But I think to Mike's point, most of these higher rated guys that have made this decision at this point in time likely are going to be staying where they are. It's the guys that have been committed for a while. I'm not going to name any name because I don't even want to put that out there in the atmosphere, that are 4 stars that you are more worried about flipping because the other teams have been in their ear for a while since the commitment. So
right.
Stephen Neely, appreciate you, man, gifting 5 memberships. Tiffany came back and gifted 5 more. I think we're there at 20.
I believe so, yeah.
20 gifted War Report memberships. We appreciate y'all for doing that. Stephen Neely says, when are the fireside chats dropping for this year's football team?
We haven't got anything set up yet. Fireside's a little bit more difficult to do this time around.
We focus more on the mix episodes because Vintage was catering them anyway. So we went to Vintage to sit down and do those, but it was hard this summer, man. Media Days was a complete circus. It's hot. Guys, the firesides were hot. But that series is not going away, but it may be more of a winter thing now than a summer thing. So after they played their last game, then maybe we look at the firesides. But yeah, we're rethinking the timing there because I tell you, I was sweating by the time it was time to sit down and record. It was like, yeah. So,
all right, guys, I think that's it. Mike?
Yeah, you guys know the deal. Well, we saw a few of you sign up. Get part of the Green Name game by hitting that join button. Join our community. The season is fast approaching. Isaac and I will be at games. Guys, there's no one covers Auburn football like we cover it. We're there for recruiting. We're there for games. We're on the road. We're at home. We're everywhere. We're in the coach's office. Big shout out to Coach Jay for letting me use her office for the Fine Palm segment. Look, we're covering all this, guys, for you guys. And, there's a lot of subscriptions you could have. But, I would say $6 a month is a deal for all the content that we provide. Help us out there. Sign up. We want to grow our Green Name community. You can also give the gift of the war part. I think we had like 20 or 30 given away today. So not bad. We appreciate everyone who gifted a membership today. Please continue to do that. I want to thank show sponsor Vintage 2298 Restaurant and Butcher Shop. The address is right there in the name, 2298 East University Drive, Auburn, Alabama. Go visit our guy Randall Baldwin over there. Great chef, great restaurant. It's graduation season, so they may be packed. If you want a reservation, make sure you get that in early. Vintage has been a great partner with us. We're looking forward to them hanging on with us through football season. Also want to thank show sponsor Manscaped. Visit manscaped.com and use code RAPPORT to get 20% off plus free shipping. They've got the ultimate summertime package that includes the Lawnmower 5.0, the Weed Whacker for your ears, the Crop Soother, which is a ball lotion, the Crop Preserver, which is like ball deodorant. And then you got the boxers that, keep your balls in there in your pants. So they've got everything over at Manscaped, manscaped.com.
That's a big issue for some people.
Hey, listen, sometimes when you're slanging. So manscaped.com, use code RAPPORT for 20% off plus free shipping. Also want to give a shout out to Joy Mode. Visit joymode.com, 20% off plus free shipping there with code RAPPORT. This is a long ad read, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But look, man, if you want to get it going in the boom boom room, or if you just want to have a great workout, right? You can turn your 6 a.m. workout into a noon workout real quick with Joy Mode. Visit usejoymode.com, 20% off plus free shipping. I want to thank title sponsor Golden's Cast Iron GoldensCastIron.com/rapport. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights and code TWR for $65 off. Fire Pits and Kamado Grills. Golden's Cast Iron, guys, I can't stress enough. They're such a great partner here. Our guy, George Boyd, is a fantastic business owner, community member, and sponsor of the War Report. We're looking forward to them staying on with us as well, too. We need you guys to go over there and buy stuff, man. Get yourself some weight, some, in-house. Never know when the next pandemic is coming. Load up and get yourself some home workout gear. And I think that's it. Check us out on podcasts. Look, man, we're about to be blasting you guys with a lot of audio content.
The Just a Sec pod is back for those of you who've been asking, and we are going to be turning up over there with a lot of SEC content that's not just Auburn related. So, Sharice, since you seem to go subscribe to the Just a Sec podcast. It's on YouTube now as well. So we're going to be talking about other schools, and you can join in over there and tell everybody else's school why Bama is better than them too, I guess.
Yeah, listen, we've got an all-star lineup coming through on podcast next week. So our girl Heather Jennings will be joining me, as well as JD Piquel over on 3 SEC Mike. Go check them out at that SEC pod. He'll be joining me this week. Jay Crane is always with us, guys. We're bringing you guys a lot of content. So please subscribe on podcasts and make sure you got your notifications turned on so you get notified whenever that new podcast episode drops.
And please be sure to share this video, guys. Smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. We also putting stuff out regularly on social media. So please go follow us on X and IG at The War Report. You can also find us on TikTok at TW Report. That's it for now, guys, but we will definitely be sending you some great content throughout the week. Be on the lookout for that. We'll see you on the live for next Wednesday. As always, enjoy your weekend or the rest of your weekend. And War Eagle.